Information Security by Aditya Palaniappan. So today's presentation is about information security. Specifically, this presentation will cover the following various topics. What is information security? What are some of the goals and purposes for information security? What does information security protect against? And what are the various forms and levels of information security? So the goal of this presentation is to go through all of these questions, answer all of them, and so let's begin. So what is information security? Before we can go in depth into this topic, we have to first examine what information security is. I'm sure all of you all have heard on the news about hacking and hackers in general, whether it be a specific scenario or just like the prevalence of hacking and hackers. So I'm sure all of you guys have been warned and advised on the best ways to protect yourself against hackers in general and protect yourself and protect your information. Well, in a sense, this is the scope of information security. According to searchsecurity.com, information security is a set of strategies for managing the processes, tools, and policies necessary to prevent, detect, and document and counter threats to digital and non-digital information. With more and more of our information being stored online, the importance of information security cannot be stated. Valuable information such as bank accounts, medical bills, and amongst many others are susceptible to hackers. Another thing about information security is that it will protect the information regardless of the mode it is in. That means that the format the information is does not matter, and it does not matter if it is being processed at the moment or it is at rest in the storage. The goal is to protect it at all times. So what are the various goals and purposes of information security? So the main thing we're going to cover is the CIA triad, and that's the purpose of what information security is based on. The CIA triad consists of three things: confidentiality, integrity, and availability of IT systems and business data. By using this triad, it guarantees that information is only accessed by and modified by the appropriate personnel. So let's take a moment to analyze the various parts of the triad. So we're going to start off with confidentiality. So confidentiality, as the name indicates, this part of the triad ensures that only people that can access the information are those that are authorized to. So basically, information is confidential, which is kind of self-explanatory based on the name. This means that information should be protected against hackers and other individuals that have no reason to view this information and clearly are trying to access this information for their own benefit and not for the purpose of the information. So that part seems pretty obvious. So now let's go on to integrity. And this part of the triad is meant to protect against the changing of information by unauthorized individuals. So, for example, this triad is meant to protect yourself against hackers that wish to change your bank account information. So basically, say I'm a hacker, right? And I want to compromise the integrity of your information. So the information in this scenario is your bank account information. So this part of the triad is supposed to protect you from me wanting to change your bank account statements. So maybe I want to go in there and change your balance, or I want to change your personal information. So this is what the triad protects against. And the third part of the triad is availability. Once again, this seems pretty self-explanatory based off the name. So this part of the triad states that those authorized to view the information can do so when they wish to. So I'm going to use the bank account example from earlier. This means that I can access my bank account information whenever I want to. Say I want to check what my balance is for that day. I can go on, log in, and check my balance, and that's the availability for That's what the availability clause of the CIA triad does. It allows me to look at my information when I want to because I'm authorized to access my own information. So together, these three parts of the triad ensure that information is secure so that only those authorized to access it can control it. So what does InfoSec protect against? Let's see. As I've stated many times in this presentation already, the main thing that information security tries to protect against is hackers that wish to obtain valuable information. For example, companies that want So I'm going to give you another example now. If say you're a company, right? You want to protect yourself against rival companies that may want to obtain information regarding future products. So say Apple wants to protect its new iPhone information against Samsung or against like Microsoft. So that's what information security. That's one example of what information security is. So now the question is, how do hackers obtain this valuable information? I mean, clearly no one's like just advertising them to hack. So how does this happen? So what are some tools that hackers use to um, attack people, attack companies, businesses to gain this information? Well, they use a variety of different hacking methods to obtain this vital information. So they use several different forms of threats. Some of these include malware and phishing attacks, identity theft, and ransomware. I'm sure that many of you are already familiar with some of these techniques and unfortunately may be victims of some of these situations. So the question is, how does information security programs fight against all of these threats? So let's look at some of the techniques that different information security programs use. So, how do information security programs fight against all of these threats? Well, their policies typically attempt a two-pronged attack by hitting them with both a physical and digital security measures. These measures are meant to protect against access from all of these information. And look at some specific examples that information security programs use. They use man traps, encryption, key management, network intrusion detection systems, password policies, and regulatory compliances. So many of these, I'm sure many of you are already familiar with stuff like encryption, stuff like passwords, firewalls. Those are all like common, everyday techniques that information security programs use to protect their information. So let's look at some of the various forms of information security. Everyday, ordinary citizens use tools to protect their information security. For example, the vast majority of us utilize passwords in order to protect and prevent unauthorized access to our valuable information. These other controls, other than passwords, will include measures such as setting up firewalls to hinder and prevent unwarranted access to your information. There are also many anti-malware softwares to protect you against malwares, and they do so by analyzing different websites to inform you of any threats. So this is like everyday stuff, like not really for like people like you and me who don't really have such important information to use, so they can use like pretty basic methods such as these. However, this isn't the same scenario for businesses. Many businesses need more sophisticated levels of information security because, well, they require higher levels of security. They have more valuable information than we do. So what do they use? A key example of what they use is cryptography, where messages are encrypted so that only the intended person and recipient can access the intended message. And I think this came into huge light recently, especially with the whole Apple versus FBI. Apple had encrypted all of their messages, and their information was protected against so well that not even the FBI could access it even when they wanted to. So this is one of the main examples of encryption. So summary. So all in all, information security is a pretty vital part of our everyday lives. It protects us against hackers. It protects our information that we want to keep, and without it, many of our information could be compromised. As I've said earlier, much of our information is stored online, and because of this, we need proper methods to protect against it. So yeah, information security is kind of a big deal. Thank you. And these are some of the sources that I use. They were all really helpful. I recommend it, and yeah, thank you.